tell you there is some moving and shaking going on in the Indiana Fever organization because they have definitely let go of a player. Now, I know y'all thinking, what does this mean? This means Caitlin Clark return is sooner rather than later. Could that be why we did not see Caitlin come back? I mean, we did not see Caitlin travel with the team this past week. I don't know.
The Indiana Fever have officially released Kyra Lambert, a guard from overseas who Stephanie White signed on a trust me bro recommendation. Somebody who Stephanie White didn't even know existed up until about 8 days ago. Unfortunately for Kyra Lambert, her time on the Indiana Fever has come and her time on the Indiana Fever has gone. Best of luck to you and your future endeavors. This has been...
Why is this move curious? Well, Lambert was on a 7-day deal, so the Fever could just be looking at this break knowing that her contract was going to expire anyway and not wanting to waste her time. But under the hardship rules, as that it has been, put out there and publicized, the Fever only had to release one of the two players between Odyssey Sims and Kyra Lambert once Caitlin Clark was back. But one of them was going to have to go once the Odyssey Sims has played herself into more of a role for the Fever. She got a bunch of minutes in the game on Sunday, 42 minutes for Sims. Lambert didn't play, right? So you can see relative one to the other, where the Fever were looking at things from the pecking order standpoint. Now, there's also the Sophie Cunningham injury, but to be honest, I'm not sure how that would impact things unless they felt they needed somebody at that position rather than more depth at the point guard.
Fever fans, I don't know. We might have some good news. Well, we might have some great news. Cece, my precious Cece, might be returning. Might be. You hear me? Because they just released Kyra Lambert. You hear me? She had 3 ACL tears. So she wasn't good for nothing anyway. She fragile. How you have that many ACL tears? But thank you for providing us 7 days of your presence. You hear me? We needed you to fill in. You hear me? Because the GOAT, the greatest of all time, is about to return and do.
Know that once Caitlin Clark was back, one of the two hardship signings was going to have to go. So that's naturally where people's heads were thinking when it was reported on the ESPN broadcast that Clark, the hope was she would return to practice this week with target dates the 22nd, 24th, 26th, those games being thrown out as potential return dates. Now, I don't have any other updates on that. I mean, I took Stephanie White's comments as they hope still she returns to at the regular season a little less confident than the pre.
Can the Fever please invest in international scouts? They definitely need to invest in international scouts because I know your boy John Liquidator ain't the best advocate when it comes to overseas players, but something I would say, they play hard, bro. Those overseas players play like they got something to prove. I give them that. But far as me, I feel like we got enough talent here at home in our home country to get players. Somebody said every day I question if Amber Cox and Stephanie White are even on the same page.
Throughout her second season in the WNBA, Caitlin Clark has posted 16.5 points, 5 rebounds, and 8.8 assists per game for the Indiana Fever. Clark started the season on a tear under Stephanie White, but has since struggled to stay on the court, playing her second season as a professional. The Fever have 9 remaining games of their regular season schedule. They have a long break before their next matchup on Friday. The venue will be open, giving Clark a chance to rehab as the Fever takes several days off from game action.
We have a chance. But the only thing I'm concerned about is she 100% healthy? You hear me? And I need to know what's going on with Sophie. Because that's her enforcer. Because everybody else on the team be acting like they scared and softer than Charmin tissue. You hear me? Y'all better protect my precious CC by any means necessary. Playoffs. It's right there in the view. You hear me? Here we come. The referees need to get it in gear. I still don't trust that.
It has come down to this season and Caitlin Clark's return. If they hope to make the playoffs, this is what's got to be done. She's got to come back, and she's going to have to win. And she's got to win even with Stephanie White as her coach. Good Lord, she will be the GOAT if she can pull that off at this point.
Caitlin Clark's return isn't just about one player stepping back onto the court. It's about a moment that could reshape the entire WNBA season. For weeks, fans have been left in the dark, chasing rumors and whispers about her condition. The league has felt her absence, the Indiana Fever have struggled without her leadership, and every rival team has been waiting to see if she'd come back at full strength. But here's the truth. Clark's comeback isn't just another headline, it's a turning point that could decide everything. And the real story of what's been happening behind the scenes is far more dramatic than anyone expected. When Caitlin Clark first went down, the updates from Indiana were almost non-existent. The team called it precautionary, but the lack of detail only fueled speculation. Reporters were shut out of practices, press conferences danced around the subject, and fans were left to fill in the gaps themselves. Every week that passed without a clear timeline made the mystery grow. Was this just a minor setback or something far more serious? Meanwhile, the Fever looked lost without her. The offense that once revolved around Clark's pace and vision suddenly stalled. Games dragged, momentum vanished, and the atmosphere around the team shifted from hopeful to desperate. The silence wasn't just about protecting her privacy, it was a silence that spoke volumes, leaving everyone to wonder if Indiana's season was already slipping away before their star even had a chance to return. The first hints of trouble came when whispers of a lingering groin issue surfaced. At first, it didn't seem serious, just the type of injury that needs rest. But as the weeks passed, it became clear this wasn't healing as quickly as fans hoped. Then came the bone bruise, picked up during solo training sessions. That one detail alone changed the entire conversation. A groin injury is unpredictable enough, but a bone bruise? That's the kind of setback that can derail an entire season if handled poorly. The pressure mounted from every direction. Analysts debated whether the Fever were protecting their star or hiding how bad things really were. Was the organization pushing her to rush back because of dwindling playoff hopes? Or was Caitlin herself forcing the issue, eager to silence critics and prove she was still the dominant force the league couldn't ignore? Each new report only raised more questions, and suddenly her return wasn't just about timing, it was about risk, reputation, and the fine line between determination and disaster. With Caitlin sidelined, the Fever were thrown into pure survival mode. Guard depth became their biggest weakness almost overnight. Injuries piled up across the roster, and suddenly the backcourt looked paper-thin. Kelsey Mitchell tried to shoulder the load, fighting through every game with relentless effort, while Nalissa Smith stepped in to carry more of the scoring burden. Their hustle kept the Fever afloat, but the cracks were impossible to ignore. Every matchup felt like an uphill battle. Without Clark's vision, the ball movement slowed. Without her floor presence, spacing collapsed, making it harder for shooters to find rhythm. Opposing defenses smelled blood, swarming Indiana's weaker spots and forcing turnovers that Clark usually prevented. The team fought with grit, but grit alone wasn't enough. Fans could see it, the Fever weren't just missing a star player, they were missing the spark that kept their season alive. Behind the scenes, Indiana's front office was busy making adjustments that hinted at a bigger plan. One of the clearest signs came when the team waived Kira Lambert, a move that seemed small on the surface but spoke volumes about their long-term strategy. At the same time, veteran guard Odyssey Sims began taking on a larger role, steadying the backcourt while the franchise waited for the return of its centerpiece. These changes weren't random, they looked like calculated steps to prepare the floor for Caitlin's comeback. Insiders began to leak details that fueled speculation. Some hinted that the team was eyeing late August as the target window, carefully managing minutes and rotations to line up with her return. Fans scoured every practice update, every press conference, for clues. And while the Fever stayed quiet, their roster moves told a different story. They were preparing for a storm, and they knew that when Clark stepped back on the court, everything would shift again. Returning too soon wasn't just a physical gamble, it was a test of legacy. Every move Caitlin Clark made was under a microscope. push herself too hard, and she risked aggravating the injury, potentially compromising not just the season but her career. Wait too long, and the Fever's playoff hopes could fade into nothingness. The stakes were enormous, and the pressure was relentless. Clark wasn't just a player, she was the face of the franchise, and one of the league's brightest stars. Every fan, coach, and analyst had an opinion, and every decision she made could shift narratives. Could she reclaim her dominant form immediately, or would the weight of expectations be too much? The whispers weren't just about basketball, they were about whether a superstar could rise above the pressure and deliver when it mattered most. Even off the court, the tension was palpable. Interviews, social media speculation, and insider chatter all added fuel to the fire. Clark's comeback was shaping up to be more than a personal triumph. It was a defining moment for her career, the team, and the WNBA itself. When Caitlin Clark returned to the court, the difference was impossible to ignore. Indiana's scoring average had struggled to reach 75 points without her, but her presence immediately lifted the team. Every assist, every three-pointer, every play she orchestrated reminded fans and rivals alike why she was the cornerstone of the Fever's offense. Clark wasn't just contributing points, she was controlling the flow of the game. Her vision allowed teammates to find open shots, her pace forced defenses to stretch, and her leadership brought structure to a team that had been scrambling for cohesion. Stat lines reflected the impact: points, assists, efficiency, all spiking the moment she stepped back onto the court. Beyond the numbers, her return had a ripple effect. Attendance surged at games, primetime coverage spiked, and sponsors took notice. Clark wasn't just a player returning from injury, she was a force that could reshape the league's attention and influence the WNBA narrative in real time. Every stat, every record, and every eye in the arena pointed to one undeniable fact: the Fever were whole again, and the league had to adjust. Caitlin Clark's return wasn't just about Indiana, it rippled across the entire WNBA. The Fever needed at least 6 wins in their final 9 games to secure a playoff spot, and with her back, that goal suddenly felt within reach. Every rival team had to reconsider their strategies, adjusting lineups and defensive schemes to counter her shooting, passing, and relentless pace. Her presence changed more than matchups, it shifted the balance of power. Opponents who once planned around other stars now had to factor in Clark's influence on the floor. Every possession, every timeout, and every play carried added significance. The league was watching. The fans were watching, and the pressure on Clark to deliver in these critical games only intensified. This wasn't just a comeback, it was a statement. The WNBA landscape was unpredictable, and with Clark leading the Fever, the playoffs were no longer a given for anyone. One player's return had transformed the stakes, proving that the course of a season could hinge on the talent, timing, and sheer determination of a single superstar. Caitlin Clark's comeback is about more than just wins and losses. It's about legacy, resilience, and the power of one player to change everything. Her return reshaped the Indiana Fever, altered playoff dynamics, and reminded the WNBA what it means to have a true superstar on the floor. The season now hangs in the balance, and every game carries weight far beyond the scoreboard. Will Clark rise to the challenge and cement her place among the league's all-time greats, or will the pressure and expectations prove too much? Fans, analysts, and teammates alike are watching, knowing that this moment could define not just a season, but a career. In the end, her story isn't just about basketball, it's about determination, timing, and the moments that leave an entire league holding its breath. The WNBA has never been this unpredictable, and with Caitlin Clark back in action, nothing will ever feel certain again.